Hey guys, welcome back to Coach Hall Writes. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how to embed evidence into your rhetorical analysis essay. There are two major ways that students can include evidence in a rhetorical analysis essay. The first is a direct quote, and the second is a paraphrase. Now, when it comes to direct quotes, please remember that you want to actually avoid long quotes. Now, I know it can be really tempting to choose a long quote because it makes your essay look longer, but this is deceptive. A rhetorical analysis essay requires just that, analysis. That means commentary. So if you use these big long quotes and you oversaturate your essay with evidence, chances are you're not providing enough commentary. So long quotes can actually be not only deceptive, but also detrimental. It's better to choose a shorter quote and offer more commentary. So for this video, we're going to be talking about the ICE method. That stands for Introduce, Cite, Explain. So when it comes to introducing a quote, you need to remember that you want to actually have words in front of those quotation marks. It can be really jarring to your reader if you just drop a quote into your essay. Therefore, you want to introduce it. So you can use an introductory phrase like, for example, in paragraph 1, or he states. These get the job done, but admittedly, they're less sophisticated. The other thing you can do is to try to embed that quote into a sentence of your own. Chances are this is going to read the best and it's going to have a better flow. The C in ICE stands for cite. Now, for the purposes of the AP Lang exam, for the rhetorical analysis essay, cite really just means to include evidence, to refer to the passage. However, in other circumstances, you are going to be required to cite your evidence, so it's important to know how to do so. To cite your evidence, you're going to do something called a parenthetical citation. So I've given you an example of it here. Now remember, this is technically optional for question 2 of the AP Lang exam, but it's still a valuable skill to know. A parenthetical citation, or an in-text citation, comes at the end of the sentence. You don't put it immediately following the quote because that can be really distracting. So here we have the quote toward the beginning of the sentence, but the citation is at the end of the sentence that contains that quote. Now you might be wondering, why are there those weird little brackets around the L? That looks really odd. Well, the answer is that in the original passage that I'm quoting, the L was capitalized. However, I needed a lowercase l here. So because I made that change, I made that adjustment, I put those square brackets around the L to indicate to my reader that I had made that change. You also might be wondering, why does it say lines 2 to 3? It's a 3-word quote. Well, for the particular version that I'm citing, it had let tyrants on one line and fear on the other. It was broken up over the course of 2 lines. So because of that, I had to cite it as such. Another thing I want to point out is that the period goes outside that second parenthesis. The E in ICE stands for explain. So this is your commentary or your analysis. So it's really important that you actually explain your evidence. You need to tell your reader why it matters. You've chosen this evidence presumably to support your thesis, but now you need to analyze it. You need to think about the rhetorical situation. So you need to think about the relationship of that particular choice to the writer, the audience, the occasion, the message, the purpose, things like that. I tell my students that I want them to have more commentary than evidence, and I want their commentary to be meaningful. You need to explain why you chose that evidence, why it matters, and the goal is to connect both of those things back to your thesis. Because remember, you're trying to prove your thesis, and to do that, you need to actually connect those dots for the reader. If you just cite evidence and move on, then your reader has no clue why you actually put that evidence in there. Don't assume that it's obvious, you have to actually explain it. So how do you actually embed a quote? Well, let me show you guys one example. At the top here, I have the text itself. Now, this is a very long quote. This would be way too long to put in an essay. So what you're going to do is you're going to look for shorter phrases that you can use. So while this entire bit of text that I've included is a very important piece of text, I need to choose shorter phrases. So what I did there is I pulled out a couple phrases, and you can see those in yellow. This slide has that exact same sentence, except this time I color-coded it to show you guys the different parts of the ICE method. So we've got the blue for the introduction here. We have words before the quote. The direct evidence from the quote is in yellow, and then the purple represents that analysis or the explain part of the ICE method. And you'll notice that I underline the verbs here. That's because if you use stronger verbs in your commentary, it can help you address that rhetorical situation. So here it says, Queen Elizabeth acknowledges the perceived limits of her femininity while simultaneously asserting her strength. Doing so reassures her troops and appeals to their patriotism as they prepare to head into battle against the Spanish Armada. So you'll notice that I actually had essentially 2 sentences there. You want to have more commentary than evidence. So sometimes you need to add in an extra layer, and that might be a separate sentence. If the passage that you are analyzing is in first person and you're trying to write a third person essay, there might be times when you need to adjust those pronouns. So you can see in the text at the top, she's using first person, my God, my kingdom, my people. However, if I'm writing an essay, I'm going to refer to her as Queen Elizabeth. That's third person. So I don't need the pronoun my. So in the quote, all I need to do is take the word my and replace it with her. However, I need to indicate that I made that replacement. So to do that, I'm going to use those same square brackets that I used in the previous example when I changed the capital L to the lowercase l. So you can still use this quote, but if you're going to make that adjustment, you should use those brackets to indicate that you made that change. Another possible reason why you might need to make an adjustment might be the verb tense. So again, you would just simply put that verb that you changed in those square brackets to indicate that you made that adjustment. Now, you are not taking creative liberties with the text. You are simply just adjusting either the pronouns or the verbs to make it fit your sentence. At the start of the video, I mentioned that there were actually 2 different ways that you guys can include evidence, a direct quotation and a paraphrase. And so we've spoken about direct quotations, but how do you actually paraphrase? Well, basically what you're going to do is you're going to take what the writer has said and you're going to put it in your own words. So what I did here is I took an embedded quote at the top, and then at the bottom, I rewrote that sentence as a paraphrase so that you guys can see the difference. Now, when you are actually including evidence in your essay, you can use either method. It's not that you choose one method the entire essay. You can actually use both methods. In fact, sometimes this actually helps your essay read better. So it is important to know how to use a direct quote and also how to paraphrase, because depending on the passage and your writing style, it's going to be important that you can use either method. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, please do me a favor and make sure you like this video. Also make sure that you are subscribed with your notifications turned on. That way you don't miss any future AP Lang content. And until next time, guys, happy writing!